All right, welcome everybody. Thank you. Really appreciate your time for today to have a 1 hour webinar with us. Us SRKK together with Nintex, right? Nintex is our principal for these wonderful products, RPA. So I will go straight to the agenda. First thing, we will look at a little bit of introduction who SRKK is for those that I'm not very sure about SRKK, what we do. And also with Nintex, our wonderful partner for this particular RPA presentations, right? After that, we will have a dialogue with our Nintex experts to fine-tune what is RPA, what do we want to achieve RPA, how RPA can help us in our company, and how do we want to kickstart, right? So these are the few questions that we will invite the Andy, our expert from Nintex. Right after that, we will have a very short demo, right? How easy it is to start using RPA, right? We will have a few samples, and after that, a little bit on the licensing part, right? For those that wants to see how what is the baseline for the Nintex RPA, and finally is Q&A and call to actions, right? For those that already have questions in mind, please welcome, just type in the chat box and we will address it as we move along, right? So great, let's start off with introductions with SRKK. So for today's presentation, I'll be your host. I'm Robin. I'm the sales consultant here in SRKK. And later on, we will have Milad, which is also from SRKK. He is our solution consultant. Say hi. Hi, Milad.
Hi, Ravi.
Okay,
Hi,
good.
everyone.
Okay, good. So SRKK is established more than 23 years ago, right? We are the leading cloud Microsoft solution provider, and in our company, we have more than 40 engineers, right? And of course, now we have over 80 plus employees. So these are the three main core solutions of what SRKK is offering. But of course, for today's practices, it's all about digital workspace, right? How we can use RPA as part of our digital journey to enhance our digitalization process. So later on with Andy, which is from Nintex side, we will want to see in terms of all the case studies and in terms of how RPA can help us to kickstart. Okay, good. So now let me introduce a little bit Andy. I will invite Andy to introduce, and then Andy is the regional sales director in Asia. Okay, Andy, welcome, Andy.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you for the invite. Yeah, I'm glad to be here today. Okay, so you want me to introduce who is Nintex, right?
Yes.
Let me start with our mission. Our company mission is actually to improve the way people work through process management and automations. We are founded in Australia 2006. We actually grow so much from there until now, and suddenly now we have like more than 10,000 customers. We just acquired a company called K2 as well, which was our competitor, but now they become one company as us. So we partner with Microsoft, Adobe, and Salesforce as well. Maybe you can help me to go to the next slide, please. And in terms of Forrester, we are the leader for digital process automations for wide deployments. That means we are really easy to be used for many different processes across the company from many different departments as well, not just one single IT department or something, right? And if you go to the next slide. Okay, since 2006, we actually grow so much. As I told you before, we used to be the SharePoint workflow only. So last time during 2012, 13, when I joined the company for the first time, we actually only have like two products, Nintex Workflow and Form for SharePoint. But now it's all different thing because we have so many different products. Like we acquire a document generation automations company called DrawLoop. we acquired by Thoma Bravo in 2018, and then since then we also bought a product called process mapping, what we call the ProMap. We also bought Foxtrot RPA, which is why we're here today to discuss about the Nintex RPA. We actually changed the name from Foxtrot to become the Nintex RPA 2019, and then we also have the relationship with the Adobe to make the Nintex sign powered by Adobe, and we also released the second generation of the Nintex Workflow Cloud. And then lastly, we acquired our competitor called K2 at the end of last year. So you know, all in all, we have so many different products now. Then the customer keep asking me, how are you going to actually package them in this in the same product, right? I mean, in the same company, you have so many products. Maybe if you can click next 3 times, Robin, so you can see all the circle lineup, layer 3. Okay, that's enough. So we actually believe on three steps: manage, automate, and optimize. As you can see on the screen, on the layer number 1, we have a product called ProMap, process management and mapping. So to put it in the simple way in Asia, because the concept of the process mapping in Asia is actually not that deep yet. So what they know is like you map the process by using the Visio diagram. So to make it simple, is instead of using the Visio or your PowerPoint presentations or your Word or Excel file, you can use the process mapping now. And the second layer, we actually believe on automation so much. Then we have 3 different products to complete the automation circle, which is workflow form and mobile, which is you know, Nintex bread and butter, and from the initial days back in the 2006. Then we have the robotic process automations and document automations, where the 3 of them can actually join together hand in hand to make it so that the right process with the right product, right? And the third layer is the optimizations analytics. We have a dashboard analytics that you can use to optimize the process, and also connectors to other platforms such as you know, Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics, for example, OneDrive for Business, and so on and so on. You can actually connect with other products, other software easily with Nintex. That's all. Do you have any more questions, Robin?
Okay, great. So guys, this webinar is more or less interactive as well, yeah. If you guys do have questions at any point of time, right, do raise hand or type it in the chat group, right? So before I move further, right, what Nintex here positioning is all about digitalization, right? As you can see, Nintex covers end-to-end solutions. You can digitize your forms. That's where you have forms, mobile, and workflow, right? And then you have document automation, DocuGen. Means like automatically, once you have a forms ready, it automatically translates to document in PDF, Word, or other formats, right? And then to further extend your business process flow, this is where RPA comes in, right? So RPA is an extension of the whole your digitalization journey. So this is something like I want you guys to keep in mind where RPA is, right? So for the next few slides is a dialogue with Andy. So these are the questions that I hope you guys can take away with, right? And if you do have further questions, you can straight away type it in the chat group as well. Okay, Andy, so my first question to you, right? With the reality of today's business processes, especially right now in pandemic area, right, where people start to work from home, things like that. So
Yep.
in terms of business processes, paint us a picture what is happening at the moment. Yeah.
Okay. Do you mind if I share the screen?
Yes, go ahead. You share the screen right now.
Okay, I'll share the screen. So these days in the facts, I need to make my facts right first from the Gartner, right? So these days we are talking about, at the moment, last year, the what do you call, how many people are using, how many percentage of companies are using the RPA? The answer is only 10% globally, right? And they actually will foresee that the usage of the RPA within the enterprise market is going to be 40%. So it's going to be increased multiplied by 4 in 1 year. That's actually a big growth, right? What I can see also, the market trend at the moment is like a lot of people, they heard about a RPA but they are actually too afraid to try, right? That's actually the common problem right now, right? And they're just exploring, but they don't know where to start. They don't know like, okay, which product that they need to use, or what kind of process they need to use RPA for, right? But on the positive side, I can see the increase of usage of the RPA, not just because in the past 10 years I noticed that only accounting and finance department are using the RPA, usually for maybe invoice processing, for copy and paste something from Excel to SAP, for example, right? But I think in the last 1 year, I'm seeing a lot more people are using the RPA for, within other departments as well, not just the accounting and finance. I think the trend, started from the accounting and finance, but, now HR can use the RPA, even salespeople can use the RPA, even, casually, like some of my friends, they're using the RPA to book the tennis court or golf course, for example. That's for, for fun. But anyway, they can actually do it for that purpose as well, outside the business. Right.
Okay, great. Good, Andy. So I hear a lot of names, RPA, a lot of RPA. So what actually is RPA? So Andy, maybe you can, elaborate more.
Okay, go to the basic one, right? What is RPA? I don't want to read the whole sentence, but I want to just highlight on a few things, right? I think you can read on your own. What is the RPA? RPA definition is actually on the screen. But what I'm trying to highlight here is why you need to use the RPA is for doing something that is repetitive, manual, and low-value tasks, such as, for example, if you're trying to copy and paste 10,000 data from Excel to your legacy system, or to SAP, for example, or to whatever web browser that you have, you want to copy and paste, you want to basically mimic whatever mouse movement that you have on your screen, which is usually for human being will take like 3 minutes per record, for example. Where in RPA you can actually do it within 2 or 3 seconds, for example. So you will increase the productivity by a lot, right? And the second thing that I want to highlight here is that work from your hands than your brain. So you're actually trying to allocate your brain to think about the decision making, to think about something that is more important. I'm not saying that you need to replace human with robot, no. But the human actually can use the brain for something that is more, useful, for decision making and so on, right? Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Probably I also need to, let you know and explain to the audience here what is bot, because some people, they don't know what is bot, right? So the bot is actually nothing but the robot to actually replace whatever that you're doing with your mouse. With the bot. That's why we call the bot stand for like a robot, like virtual workers, right? As you can see. So the way the concept of a robot is like, okay, you think of, you need to do something, then you create the project within the designer, and then the third step is like, okay, you click the button, then the robot will do it for you. And we have the 2 different type of robot. One is the attended, and another one is unattended, right? Attended is where you need to click the button to start the robot to action, and the unattended is actually the one that automatically you can schedule, like every midnight, 12:00, you start doing something, you start moving the mouse and so on, right? So with Nintex, actually we have a good value proposition compared to any other brand as well, because Nintex robot, we can actually trigger by the workflow as well. We are the only company that can actually make the 2 products actually working together. So the workflow can call the robot, and the robot can call the workflow, right? So that's the most interesting part of the Nintex RPA.
Okay, good. So we know a little bit, is very technical what RPA can do. So in summary, can I say like RPA is something like anything that is repetitive, anything that is repetitive, that a user can use with a mouse within the four screen from their desktop. Then
Yes.
RPA can create something like a macro for those of us that know Excel macro, right? So it's similar like for RPA, but for RPA macro is within your whole desktop. Is it something like that?
Yes, something like that. So basically, whatever that you can do with your mouse, copy paste, click here, click there. Let the robot do the mouse clicking, not you.
Okay, very good. So my next question would be then what would be the benefits of Nintex RPA for us, right?
Okay, good question. I actually prepared a slide for that as well, Robin. Yep. So yeah, there's a lot of benefits with RPA, but I think to summarize whatever that you see on the screen is that two things for me. Like to my opinion, is actually RPA is all about the speed and agility. You can actually reduce the cost with the speed because it's faster, and you will increase employee experience or even customer experience. You have let's say you want to test your software, or you want to test your product or something. You can actually do it with the RPA, because with human tests, maybe you can in one day you can actually do it maybe 100 clicks or something, but with RPA you can actually test your product with 10,000 clicks, for example. That's actually a big difference in terms of the testing, right? Increased agility, that means okay, if you cannot do it this way, then you can do it faster with the RPA, and then you can actually redo it again, for example, right? There's a lot of benefit, but end of the day, it's less downtime for you, and speed and agility. That's the bottom line of benefit of RPA. Yeah.
Good. Maybe you can share some example since I know RPA has so many benefits. Something that work well for us to can even visualize a little bit. How to kickstart this journey.
Okay. There's a lot of example, but I just take like maybe some like 7 or 8 examples that you can see on the screen right now. Things like web data scraping, where let's say, for example, you need to punch in the data from Excel file or Word document to a certain website, for example. You can actually do that automatically, right? My example on the tennis court booking is actually on that category of web scraping as well, because they are actually accessing the website and so on. You're trying to extract the PDF, Excel to something else. You try to make the huge calculation on 10,000 data records. But bear in mind that RPA is actually very useful if you have the big record of data. Not that useful if you have like 1 or 2 data, for example, where you can actually click copy and paste yourself. Because some people, they're trying to make RPA with every processes that they have, which is, I think, it's overkill as well, right? So you need to bear in mind that, okay, you need to have a balance between creating your own RPA bot, for example, then compared to if you have to do it yourself, right? So practically, if you have like anything more than 100 records, then it's worth it to do it with RPA. Another one is like connect to other system. Maybe you still have a legacy system. Banks primarily, they have a lot of legacy system that cannot be accessed by internet or something. So it's really hard to use the workflow. Then you must use the RPA. Moving the file from one folder to another folder for backup. Every midnight or at 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning, you want to make sure that you grab the data from one file to another file, backup server or something. Then you can actually do it by automatically by RPA, right? And here is more example of the Nintex RPA. I actually still have the Foxtrot RPA there because that's the old name of the Nintex RPA. Yes, replicate the desktop actions, file transfer, integrating with another software, and so on and so on. I think you can actually see that on the screen. But on top of that, with Nintex, we are actually connecting the document automations and workflow and RPA together, so that on the bottom of the screen, you can actually see whatever that workflow can do, and the form can do, the documents can do, and our analytics can do, and so on. Right. Okay. You have any more questions? Yeah.
Actually, Andy, you're very popular there. There are some questions from the chatting.
Okay. Very good.
Actually, the first one is from Jim lah. Says like, can we automate OKTA? Maybe Jim can explain a little bit what is OKTA lah. Then we can see how to address that lah.
OKTA, what is that?
Yeah. Hi. Yeah, thanks for inviting me to join this chat. Yeah. OKTA basically we use for our single sign-on. So just to share more about this is like our company is using single sign-on for all these different multi applications. So users just need to use the single ID, user ID and password, and to log into all those multiple applications. Secondly, we also use the Okta for our AD as well, so that once we deactivate one user account, then the rest will deactivate as well. So I just wanted to know more about like the integration, whether the RPA is suitable for our Okta environment. And we do have a lot of like creating users daily, new user, new ID account, and then we have to create like Office 365, like what you are having. So we want to make it simplified for our IT ops.
For Okta, let's say if you assign one ID for the robot, let's say to be acting as a human being or something, I think there is no reason why we cannot integrate Nintex RPA with the Okta, right? Especially when you're trying to create accounts for Office 365 instead of the IT admins is doing it for 100 staff per day or something, then Nintex RPA can take over for you. I think it's possible, but I think in the deeper way, you can actually get maybe Milad or Robin to explain a bit more on how you are going to do it, because they are a solution partner of Nintex in Malaysia. Yeah.
Yep. I hope Jim will give you a little bit of how it can be done lah. But functionality wise, features wise, RPA can work on it. So maybe I can give a little bit of some ideas, differences, right? What is BPM, business processes, forms and workflow? What is workflows can do, and then up to what level RPA will needs to be done, right? There are a few differences. That's why you can the best input is have combinations of workflows and then RPA. I think that would be something like towards the end of these sessions, we will kind of give a summary because as we move along, you guys hopefully will get more ideas, more input on that right? But there are a significant place where you would use RPA for it, right? Whereas for other digitalization processes, you will use workflows to do for it, right? So, okay, next question for Andy. This is from TW Guest. In your opinion, how much time consumed for low-value tasks is considered as significant or within your industry?
How much time consumed for low-value tasks is considered significant? It's actually quite subjective as well, but from my knowledge, when you're talking about repetitive data, so the keyword is actually not how long. Let's say it will take like half an hour, but it's only one record, it actually doesn't mean anything to make it the RPA, because to design the RPA, maybe you take half an hour anyway, right? But if you have the repetitive and with the what you call high volume data, then you will actually consider like copy and paste. Even though it will take like 1 minute, you can make it down to 3 seconds. It's actually the high value already, right? That's how I see it, right?
Good.
But I'm not sure whether I answered the question correctly or not.
Yeah, TW, if you feel like you have further question to drill down, do paste it or you can just raise hand then we can address it together, right? And then the next question also from TW. What do you think are the prerequisites to even consider RPA in your organization?
Actually, now it's 2021, so compared to 2001, it's actually a big difference, right? Because 2001, RPA is actually still not popular. Maybe RPA is so much expensive compared to now. There is a lot of prerequisite in terms of the system, what sort of laptop that you want to use and so on. But these days, our RPA can be run in even the personal laptop, like it doesn't need to be on the high-end Dell server or HP server, for example, right? It can be in one of your laptop. Even I can run my own RPA on my little laptop here. So there's not really a pre-requirement in terms of the hardware, and also in terms of costing as well. There's not really too much investment. We can actually talk about the pricing at the end of this webinar also, right? I think you'll be amazed by how little is the investment that you need to chip in to start the RPA. And also, I think the most important part is actually the mindset of the people. That's the very important part, because I think hardware, the cost-wise, I think is very, very doable right now. So in terms of the mindset, I think you need to think about how can you actually try to just try with small what do you call small process, big process, it doesn't matter. You can actually try it anyway, no problem. So really, it's so easy now to start using the RPA.
Okay, good. Yep. Thank you, Andy. So guys, if you have more questions, right, it could be even drill down to like you have a certain scenario that you are thinking, hey, is RPA suitable or not? Or maybe like, hey, workflow can do already. Why do I still need RPA? Those kinds of challenges or those kinds of those kind of thoughts, right? Do put it in the chat, and then we will address together with with Andy, right? And of course, if you have those questions but you just couldn't remember right now, you can always drop us an email, right? And then we will address it accordingly lah. Okay, so let's go on. I have one more questions here, which is good. Thank you, Jim. It's from Jim. What's the differences in terms of functionality or usage between Nintex RPA versus IBM RPA? Very technical.
This is very technical. Because every brand will say their RPA is actually the best in the world. But I don't want to talk so much about the IBM RPA. Maybe what I will do is I will share more about why people are buying the Nintex RPA. Number one, Nintex RPA is actually so easy to be used. The same concept as our workflow is actually drag and drop. We have inbuilt function of what we call the actions that you can actually drag and drop. We have about 400 actions that already we pre-built, so you don't have to do so much programming language or JavaScript or whatever, right? That's one. And the second thing is actually our pricing model is very, very simple. I think it's too hard to be ignored actually for the SMB. Even SMB company can actually afford Nintex as well, RPA.
Yeah, Andy, maybe for this particular question, you can maybe share the one that are traditional RPA versus the Foxtrot RPA.
Oh, okay.
One of the angle we can take a look.
Yeah. Hang on. Let me just. Okay. Yep. This one, eh? Okay. Okay. So the majority of the RPA these days, you name it, I think the usual suspect, maybe UiPath, AA, IBM, right? Their price is so complicated compared to the Foxtrot Nintex RPA. We actually have two different pricing model. We can actually buy by how many bots only, and the second part is actually we can actually go by how many processes with unlimited bot, unlimited orchestrator, right? Speed costs and actually for traditional RPA, every time you want to add the bot, then you need to pay more. So with the Nintex, you can actually have a different pricing model, which is unlimited bots per project, right? So basically this is actually some kind of things that I can highlight. Fast time to value, easy to use, but yet powerful, right? This is actually probably my answer.
Okay, good. Thank you, Andy.
Yeah.
Again, guys, more questions, just list it out. I will continue with some questions for Andy as well. So far we have heard, first we identify what is RPA, right? and then we can see there's so many benefits of RPA can do for you, and also you also explain the typical functionality of RPA. So let's say after this webinar, what are the key highlights or key takeaway points? You know, this is again for those that are watching this lah. What are the key takeaway that you want to advise for us Andy?
Okay. So if you want to forget whatever that I say in the last 20 minutes, you can, but don't forget whatever that I will say in the next 2 minutes, right? So this is the truth of the truth, right? So I think people sometimes get confused. Okay, when to use the RPA, when to use the workflow. Some company, of course, the RPA company, they say, hey, we can solve every problems that you have with RPA. You know, everything, all the approval can be done by RPA as well, but I think it's not right. So I think you need to actually, you know, define your process first. Anything to do with the high volume, repetitive job, you know, a straight line, it doesn't need to be like approved or interrupted by human being or something. You have, you know, 10 different steps that you need to do. Click here, click there, copy and paste, go to the website, a certain browser, log into the website, right? Then you can use the RPA, actually. Whenever you have a legacy system that don't have the, what do you call, the API, then you can use the RPA. What do you call, the, anything to do with, you know, just copy and paste, whatever that you can actually do with your mouse, you can actually replicate with RPA. And on the right hand side, I'm sharing with you like what are the top examples of processes that you know, our customer is using the RPA for. Again, it's actually not only the finance, actually HR can use the RPA, procurement can use the RPA, you know, even in banking sector, manufacturing, insurance, healthcare. I think almost everybody can use the RPA these days, right? So I should say like RPA should be for everybody, not just for the IT teams. Yeah.
Okay. So Andy, if I say like in terms of speed to delivery to go to market, right? To create an RPA solution compared to create a workflow solutions. Because workflow will pretty much, you need to like understand what is the business processes. Normally workflow is like for digitalization is as simple as converting currently your manual process, then you want to convert to digital. But in that conversion, you need to understand how the processes and maybe fine-tuning some processes. So the time might take longer. So can we say RPA could be like a quick start for them to start their digital processes, and then you can see the result almost instantaneously.
Yes, of course. I think from my experience, we've been selling a lot of workflow in the past. Of course, in the last 1 year, I've been selling the RPA. The typical project timeline on the RPA is like quite fast. Like you're talking about week, day, right? One RPA process, for example, we just completed the project in one of the biggest university in Indonesia, right? On the student admission, right? They're trying to scan all the ID, the certificate from the high school and to go to university and stuff. They need to scan everything, right? So because they receive a lot of emails and then they check email one by one and they put it on their admission system. The project took only like 3-4 days, you know, like instead of like 3-4 months, right? So actually the value to market is actually you know, quite fast, right? It's very good outcome. I'm quite happy with that.
Okay, good. I think this is another key takeaway for all of us, right? For digitalization processes, do look into RPA, which is good. So I have one last questions for Andy. So let's say we want to start, right? We know what RPA is. So what is your advice? How should we start the RPA journey?
I think first thing is like the Nike, just do it. Right? There's no other way that I can advise the people, because even if you fail the project, you don't have to worry, because it's only a small project, you know, like 3 or 4 days. It's nothing to lose anyway, right? I think once you start with one process, then you go to another process. Maybe you can actually try with a simple project with, smaller process instead of big processes, for example. Then it'll be a good start, right? And I think you just need to consult with SRKK as well, right? Because SRKK is our solution partner in Malaysia. They will advise you on when to use the RPA, when to use the workflow. They have a very good consultants as well that you can actually trust, right? Then you just need to just do it, man. Start somewhere. You don't have to wait until 2023 or something. you can just start even this month. You want to buy the RPA next month or something. You want to start the project immediately. You tell the SRKK, hey, I don't want a long project cycle. I want the 1 week project cycle. It's fair enough. Like even if you fail, right? Worst case scenario, even if you fail, you actually fail early and then you fail quick. And then you go to the next project. I'm not saying that every project will have to fail. Of course not, right? But I'm talking about even if you fail, right? Then you will. There's no risk. There's a limited risk only.
Okay, great. Guys, if you like what we have so far, do give a like or give a heart, just to encourage Andy lah. By the way, Andy is actually located in Singapore. Yeah, he looked after the whole Southeast Asia region, and thank you very much for all the likes and even the whole Asia. So he has visibility examples from Malaysia, from Singapore, Indonesia, everywhere, Japan, the whole region. So yeah, if you really have very typical questions or specific questions, do raise it right now while we capture Andy's time, right? I think we have.
I don't mind for you guys to send me the direct email as well. I'm gonna type my email there so that we can have a bit of interaction as well in the future. I'm a very open guy. Then of course you can contact SRKK team also. But I jot down my email there.
Good. So another question from Janet. Are we able to test RPA for simple automation? I think the question is there a trial version for RPA?
There is. You can actually get it from the SRKK as well, right? I think you guys can help. No problem at all.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andy. So I think time is kind of like spin very fast because our next agenda is actually to show you how RPA looks like, right? In terms of like, you want to onboard, you want to start. How do I start, right? Of course, first you have to get a trial version or some kind of a testing version. So let me share my screen. For today, we will have two particular demo. One is a simple one, and then my colleague, our solution consultant, Milad, will show you another one. So, okay, Andy, allow me to share my screen. I'm going to take over real quick. Let me see. Workstation. Okay, good. Again, do bring all the questions out. You guys have anything? It could be a simple question. It could be a complicated question. Just throw it out, right? While we can capture Andy's here. So yeah. So okay. When you install RPA, right? Again, compared to the traditional ways of RPA, right now it is meant for end user to use it. Why? Because end user has the business sense, has the business knowledge, right? So the installation part is much more easier. After you install it, everything, you will have an RPA Studio, right? For those that have worked with similar like low code, no code solutions, they always a studio, right? And in that studio, what I want to highlight here is on your left hand side is action, right? So RPA has hundreds of actions. I believe right now it's more than 300 plus or even 400 plus actions. So this action is what earlier we said is a macro. You define the actions, everything within your computer that you want to do. For example, if I want data, these are the actions, right? I can execute a lot of data. Of course, data means you have to connect to certain database, right? If I want email actions, I can have create, copy email, forward email, and things like that. If I want to have Excel, what do I want to do in Excel? I can do that as well. I want to have file. I want to copy file. I want to delete file or even unzip, right? Create folders, things like that. So these are all the actions that you can have, right? It could be our day-to-day usage of the whole computer, And then the best part is action, yes, but with actions we need to have looping. So that action will make sense. That's where we can do some kind of logic within those actions. We can have looping. We can have to exit loop, to go into the loop, next loop, and things like that, right? So these are all the actions that is available on your left-hand side. Now, in the middle section is where you start to create your task, right? This task is something to mimic. Again, like Andy says, a mouse and a keyboard within the screen. Whatever that you can mimic together, you can create that task. And then with the looping logic, then your task becomes dynamic, right? It depends on different logics. It can create different things, right? And then on the right-hand side, sorry, is the variables, right? You can create different variables, different tasks, different bot flows. So these are the actions that you can do for you. So in this very simple example, I want to highlight on the middle part. What this one will do, this particular simple action is first, it will resize this particular application, which is the Nintex Studio, and then it will open an browser. You open another browser. What it does is like it open a browser and then it resize the browser for me. And after that, actually that browser is a forms right? In a it's an Edge browser, and then you open up a forms. And then what it will do, it will copy all this value and populate into the form and save it for me, right? So what it is doing is it is open up the browser, which is an Edge browser, and then it will copy all this data, copy it and save it. So let me run it for you. It can be as simple as this, or it can be more complicated. So first it will resize. Again, you see my studio is resized. Then you open up my browser, and then it will resize my browser for me. Again, for demo purposes, I will resize it, right? And then after that, it will start copying all the variables that I already defined and then populate into this form for me and then submit. So I'm working with different platforms, right? My data could be from Excel file, or my data could be from another platform, ERP system or database. And I want to transfer this data into another platform. In my example, is a form in Azure website which I created, right? And everything is done automatically. I choose the speed for it to type as the slowest, so you can see how it works, right? Of course, you can change the speed to be the fastest, and then it submit the form for me, and then you complete the whole cycle of RPA. So this is the simplest way of doing it, that I only involve actually one platform, which is opening up my browser. That's it. For more complicated one, I can open up multiple platforms. I can open up one from my banking account, for example. If I want to automatically download my bank records, I can open up an Excel file, a different platforms. If I want to auto save some variables into there, right? Or I can open up another system. Let's say it's an onboarding process, right? Then I can use the same RPA, and then it will start to feed all different action to various platforms. So this is a simple RPA I want to show. So the next RPA is where my colleague Milad, right, will show you a little bit more example, complicated example that you can do with RPA. Okay, Milad, over to you.
Okay, Robin, and hello and good. I can say good morning still. Okay, so thank you for your time actually, and I have to say thanks to the Andy, okay, and Robin for the great explanation. So, okay, let me share my screen. Okay, just give me a moment. Okay, okay, so Uh, actually, first of all, before I go through the demo, I want to explain something interesting about the Nintex. As Andy and Robin is already shared, Nintex is not just one service. Nintex can comes with a different kind of services. It's comes from the, for example, form designer. It can be started from the workflow designer, document generation, and also Nintex Sign that it will be integrated with the Adobe Sign as well. So all these services, one of the coolest feature that I really like it from the Nintex, all these services can be integrated to each other. For example, you can run the flow while submitting the forms. Once you're submitting the forms and the workflow is run, it can be integrated with the document generation and create then it can be located to any places you are looking for. So for example, it can be integrated with the SharePoint, located in the SharePoint, located in a OneDrive, or other places as well. Once done it, that form that you already created, it's created by the workflow, it can be sent it through the e-signature approval that is integrated with Adobe Sign as well. We call it Nintex Sign. So once you do the signature, then the coolest feature that already Andy mentioned as is only so far is unique to the Nintex. Okay, the workflow also can run the RPA and vice versa. The RPA also can run the flow. So, okay, this one is the example that I want to explain it. Okay, it will be started from for submission. For business loan application, customer applies business loan through online web form. Then Nintex convert the online web form, all of the digital value that you already have or input. So convert it to the PDF document. It's a document generation, we call it. And after that will be located to the different department. It can be inside the SharePoint. And also it will be sent it to through the approval actually. So then it will be received from the, for example, loan department manager can approve it or reject it. It depends what action or he decided whether we want to approve or reject it, then it will be sent for the e-signature. The managers or the approvers also they can do the e-signature, and after that it can be saved again inside different document library inside the SharePoint or another location that you already have. So once that one is done it, then the RPA can call and it will be run automatically for you. Yeah, this one is the whole thing that I can mention. Okay, let me go through the some example. Okay, this one is the forms that is already created uh, mm, by help of the form designer that is comes with the Nintex, another service that is provided by the Nintex. So this one it can be accessible from outside. The user do not need to have the license to access to this one because we call it this one in Nintex Workflow Cloud. It's created in Nintex Workflow Cloud. We already designed one sample. Okay, we call it business loan application form. From here, user can select every details. Okay, in this form, you can do lots of validation on every part. For example, if you want which part of this form is compulsory if you want to submit it. If you haven't submit the right format, also it gives you errors. So for example, you need to put some tests. Okay, let me put some test. Okay, so the email address. Okay, so you need to fill up all of the compulsory forms, compulsory fields. Okay, let me just, I put some dummy data. Okay, as a number, job. A coolest things about the forms and in-text form, okay, you can do some kind of actually validation. For example, it depends which choice you selected inside the form. You can add dynamically add some section to the forms. So for example, is here, as I already mentioned, additional owner needed. So one section is already put it, and I can select the file or drag and drop and attach some file to this form. So let me, I turn off this one. Okay, I will select all of the compulsory fields, and after that I can submit it. So once this form is submit, okay, what will be happen next? Let's go through the Nintex Workflow Cloud that it will be created workflow for you. So this one is a diagram and the flow chart that our workflow will be done. First, it will be started from the form submission. Once the form is already submitted by the user, then it will be goes to generate loan application document. We call it document generation. Once we create a document, all the action that we already have, it helps us to create a document. Once we create the document, is you can mention, okay, this document should be in a PDF format or the Word format. Also, you can select it. Then it will be sent it through the approval process, and we call it the e-signature required. So that it comes with the Adobe Sign as well. So the manager can actually sign it or whether approve it or reject it. Once that one is done, goes to the next step, send approve business loan. Okay, once the get signed document is already done, it can be rotate that document to the related database that you already have, the related location. In our example is in a SharePoint, or it can be a OneDrive or other places. So once is located there. As you can see, we have one action here, the start an RPA job. So once this one, it will be a start. So automatically RPA, it depends on the connection that you define it for the RPA. So as you know, the RPA should be located in one PC or one server that is always up and is always turned on. So then this one is automatically connect to that RPA, call it, and RPA start to work. So as an example, I can showcase this one, this slide to you. So let me, I play this video. So this one, it can be one of the legacy system. In this case, for example, is a LOS, that loan data input to the LOS bank system. Okay. So this part, as you can see here, okay, so as Robin is already mentioned, inside the PC, okay, it will be open the, for example, system related system. In this scenario is the LOS system related to the bank is open for you, and it will be grab all of the data that user is already submitted from these forms, the successfully submitted. So this form, all the data, it will be captured. These data also, it can be saved inside the SharePoint, it can be saved in other database as well, and all of them can be captured, pass it to the RPA, and RPA can grab all of this data and open that related system, legacy system, in this case is LOS. And after that, one by one, it depends on the condition that you define it inside the form, it will be filled the related form inside this system for you. So as you can see, it will be goes until the end of the progress. Okay. And after that, okay, once this one is done, also once your RPA is done, there is some action inside the RPA that you can okay send some email notification as well to the related user to the email address and mention whether this one is approved. Okay, the RPA is run for the manager. Actually, this one is successfully done or not. All it can be done it by the RPA as well. So this one is very coolest feature that is comes with the Nintex. All the services that Nintex is provided can combine it together and create an end-to-end solution for the users. So, okay, so far any question? Okay, so this one actually is one example, and also I want to add on one explanation to the one of the question that is already asked. Okay, it's related to the I can say it's related to the HR onboarding. So yes, Nintex also can do the HR onboarding. It's from 0 to 100% automation from for the onboarding of the employee to the company or offboarding. So for example, for the first time, you can make an employee offer, complete a new employee form, set up employee in HR system. This setup employee in HR system, it depends on your current system that you already have, HRMS, or what kind of system you're already using. So this one, it depends whether we can, okay, the our workflow can connect it by the API services to this one, or if the HR system that you already have, it doesn't support the API and is kind of the legacy system. So the Nintex RPA can come to the scenario and grab all of the data that, for example, the user is already, the new employee is already fill it inside the form and put it to the different systems such as HR system, okay, payment system, and also again it can be goes for the request for the equipment, IT setup. This one it can be created somehow is a It can be add license into the Office 365, add a license to the Exchange Online. All it can be done it via help of all of the services that is provided by Nintex. That is started from the Nintex Pro Apps, Nintex Form Designer and Workflow, Nintex RPA, and Nintex Document Generation. All can be combined and create an end-to-end solution for the users. Okay, I think that's all for this part. If you have any question, just feel free to ask. Okay, so I think if no question, I can pass
Hi,
it to the Robin.
hi, Mila. I have a question. If you
Yes.
can answer me, yeah. About the HR onboarding, right? So I guess it's more on the HR department side, but can it actually reach out to IT department as well, extensively in the
Yeah, actually it can. It can.
document?
Yeah, it can. For example, some of the tasks that should be done by the IT, once one employee will join to your company. Okay, so the IT need to provide some equipment, need to provide some account in your legacy system that you already have. Okay, need to provide account, for example, for email or create an email. All also it can be done it by the Nintex services. So it depends on what scenario, okay, usually you use inside your company. So this one, okay, the some of the tasks that is related to IT also can be uh, done very easy via help of the Nintex also.
Okay. So I guess it can reach out to multiple platform, right? For example, like we have Microsoft Power Apps as well,
Mhm.
which currently I'm actually developing the asset for Power Apps tools. So it shouldn't be any issue to connect to any other platform, especially MS products. I guess so.
Actually, yes, we can say somehow with the help of the Nintex. Okay, Nintex is comes with a different service, and each service comes with the different actions. And for example, the Nintex workflow has a more than hundreds actions that is provided for you, and also all it can be some of the action it's only specific to the integration. It can be integrated with the SharePoint as well, or some of them that you cannot find inside the workflow. Those action you can use the RPA. Okay, for example, if you cannot connect two platform with to each other by the API, okay, so you can use it the RPA. The RPA come the scenario, grab the data from the current system that you already have, pass it to another system or another platform as well.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, welcome.
You have a question from Mr. Chong. The loan forms that showing, is it part of Nimtex? And then
Actually,
do you need programming knowledge to create the
uh,
form?
Okay, let me go through the example. Okay, so Nintex actually is comes with a different service as I already mentioned. One of the service that is comes is the Nintex Form Designer. The Nintex Form Designer, we have two things. One of them is only specific to the Office 365 or the SharePoint. We call it Nintex for SharePoint. Another one is a separate platform. We call it Nintex Workflow Cloud. So how it looks like for the Form Designer. Okay, let me show you. In the case that you want to create it, that one actually is the example that we created for the loan forms. So you can design it any form that you want and you like it. So if I click on design form, so we are inside the Nintex workflow cloud. As you can see all of the items that I already put it inside the form, and easily you can drag and drop the location of the fields, and you can add the different fields. As you can see here, we have the different action and the field for the forms. For example, barcode reader, multiple choice, or the date and time. All you can locate it here. And
Are you
it's,
sharing screen, Milad?
We
Sorry.
cannot see
oh,
yours. Milad.
Yeah.
sorry. Okay, let me share my screen again. Okay, so can you see my screen now?
Thank you, Milad.
Okay, sorry. Let me close this one and show you again. Okay, from this part, as I already mentioned, is the Nintex Workflow Cloud. Okay, Nintex Workflow Cloud also comes with the Nintex Form Designer as well. So if I click on the design form, you can see the form that I already designed it. We already designed it actually. So for the business loan application, all of the item, it will be appear here, and easily you can drag and drop the field to the related location that you want. And from this part, you can see the form designer is somehow is very mature, and it have a different fields that you want to create it. For example, you can add some barcodes. Okay, barcode scanner here. After that, you can simply click on that one and read the barcode related for you. Or it can capture the geolocation for the user that is submit this form. Or you can have the signature. You can do, for example, some kind of labeling, free text, text box choice. All it will be designed, and it's simple to design it. Only drag and draw. So you can set all of the configuration for the related text that you will put it inside the forms. So this one is the coolest feature is, and one of the service comes with the Nintex that we call it Nintex Form Designer, and it's also is easy to use. Okay, you can define the different rules for the Nintex as well. These rules help you whether this form it, for example, needs some kind of validation or not. So by help of the rules, for example, you can say, okay, if the user select the organization type, okay, if you select, for example, type 1, some section will be added or some fields should be required in these forms. Yeah. Okay. Welcome.
Okay, thank you, Milad. I think, Mr. Chong, for more information, we can have a separate sessions, right, for the forms and workflows. Okay, so let me share my screen. I don't want to apologize a little bit over the time. So let me continue with the slides and we can wrap it up hopefully in the next few minutes. Okay, good. So to start off, right, with Nintex is Nintex RPA Standard Edition, which will provide up to like 5 users, right? Up to 5 users can create their own bots, their own RPA, like what I did earlier, right? When I created that, or when Milad was creating the RPA site, that's considered one user. One user is using it, right? So the Nintex RPA standard edition starts with 5 users minimum. That means you have to purchase in minimum is 5 with USD 5,100, right? So that's for the pricing side.